was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Comics League. I am Jared. I'm here with Buzz. What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Welcome to the show. I'm glad we could finally do this.
Yeah, man. It's good to be on.
All right. So before we get into talking about the book, why don't you tell me what how'd you get into comics?
Oh man, I'm a 90s baby, you know, like
There you go.
hitting the comic shop in like 91, you know, discovering Spider-Man first, you know. I remember picking up like a miniseries called The Foes of Spider-Man. Had you know, Hydro, Beetle, Rhino, I think all these different guys that Spider-Man was facing off with. That kind of hooked me. Then, you know, one day I showed up and you know, I saw an issue of Uncanny X-Men by Will Sportesio.
There you go.
That was it, man. I saw Storm and Bishop on the cover, and I was like, "What is this?" And I opened it up, and I saw that art, man, and that thing that hooked me. I became an X-Men fanatic. Anything with an X, anytime I'd show up at a shop, that's the first thing I'd grab. First X-Men, then Spider-Man, and then you know stuff grew from there. You know, discovered DC, then Image later on in the '90s. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I was about to say that was prime time for like all the stuff from Image coming out.
Yeah, so I was collecting pretty hardcore until probably like end of '99, probably around the Onslaught. You know, once that kind of ended.
Yeah,
that's kind of like was the end for me. And then, you know, like early 2000s, came back with Green Lantern Rebirth.
Oh, there you go.
Kind of hooked me back, so I started becoming more of a DC guy in the 2000s. And yeah, man, so that's kind of been my thing. You know, it's just like still passionate about the same books and the same characters. You know, they always kind of been hooked in me. You know.
So you still so are you more of a DC guy or a Marvel guy?
Right now, I'm more of an independent guy.
Okay.
You know, so like I said, early. Once Jeff Johns' run ended on Green Lantern, you know, he had like a 10-year run. That's kind of was the last time I was really collecting. So probably like 2014, 2015, I was by the end of it. And the last probably like 5-6 years has just been this new independent space. I've been following a lot of indie creators and stuff. So that's kind of been my main passion right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff that's been going out, not from like Marvel or DC. I mean, you also have the Energon universe at Image currently. And obviously, we have like everyone's crowdfunding a comic nowadays. I'm doing it myself, but it's like it's in many ways it's never been easier, but it's also never been harder to make a comic book when you really think about it.
Yeah, like it looks easy at first. Then,
yeah, I know, right?
And then you try it and you're like, no, this is not. It's not what I thought it was.
It's like, how do I make a campaign? Oh God.
You know, I mean, I gotta promote this thing 24/7 every day. Yeah. For 6 months, yeah.
All right. So since you're an X-Men guy, I gotta ask, what's your favorite X-Men movie?
It's probably X2.
That's most people's favorite X-Men movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like, I have a soft spot for the first three, and I'm one of the actual people who actually likes the third X-Men. You know,
I tolerate it. I tolerate it. It's not as horrible as people think it is.
No, it's definitely got a lot of flaws. I mean, they try to like trim it down to 90 minutes compared to like the other two were like almost 2 hours each. So,
and they're
like,
combining two storylines into one with like the Phoenix Saga and then the Cure thing. So I'm like, pick one.
Yeah. But what I do like about that one is it really felt grand. It felt like that they let Magneto. I remember him flying the bridge.
Yeah.
I thought that was like one of the coolest things ever. Then the scene with Wolverine in the woods just tearing guys apart. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like it's got some real great action. You know, wish you know, Singer would have directed it because he would have kind of helped a lot of the story beats more. But I thought as far as like action and kind of like showing the X-Men powers, I thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah, that's the movie where, like, when you say, that Magneto is like an Omega level mutant, that one has the perfect argument for that. Again, with like the bridge or anything like that. So I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see why he's a dangerous mofo.
Yeah.
but yeah, so tell me about the Drawing Aces anthology.
Yeah, so this is something it's kind of like a showcase of like everything I've been working on the past 5 years. Got 5 short stories featuring characters from my Drawing Aces comics group imprint. 3 that have already been established. The Ace, Bloodbone, and Raid of the White Leopard, and then 2 new projects. One called Xavier, the other one called Blue Blaze. So it kind of gives you a little glimpse of each story, each world, each character, kind of everything in kind of one package.
Yeah, so it's essentially like here's an introduction to like it's like a sampler.
Yeah, that's
Essentially.
that's a good way to call it. It gives you, if you never read anything from me, like you can just pick this up and you can kind of get a good idea of what each world, each character, each tone that I'm trying to do in this. And it's got some really fantastic artists,
Yeah.
doing some killer art.
I definitely see the '90s influence. So
Yeah.
like, all right, here this guy's a '90s. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of funny. A lot of people that do crowdfunds are major '90s guys.
Yeah, there's something different, man. You used to walk into shops, man, and you didn't know what to expect. Like there's something always could surprise you. And like this is like this cover right here is by Avery Butterworth. The darker image homage. I remember like picking up that comic and just being like, "What is this?" Like, oh, this is completely like different. Even for like what the image guys were doing, this was so cool. And like, so the idea of kind of doing a little homage to that, I thought it was like the perfect opportunity.
Yeah. So tell me about each of these characters.
Yeah. So the guy on the left there with the armor and the blade, that's the Ace. He's my first character. He's a young man who discovers the remains of a shooting star. The wreckage grants him the ability to transform into an armored superhero. So Ace is very much inspired by books like Darkhawk, in the 90s. Touch is about this young man kind of discovering this incredible power, and at the same time he's trying to figure out what kind of man he wants to be. He's 21 years old. He's just got out of college, so he's kind of trying to figure stuff out. He doesn't really have a game plan. And then this incredible thing happens where he destroys this armor, and now he gets introduced to this whole other world. So now he has to deal with aliens and all these kind of superpowers and all this other kind of stuff. So it's been a really fun story. I've done 3 issues of the Ace, so far. And so, yeah, this one has a short story about his origin. So you get to see Ace when he's about like 11, 12 years old, and kind of him growing up with his dad. So it's a nice little glimpse into like his backstory. You have Bloodbone there, the big jacked mask guy. I put out a ash can of him. Bloodbone's basically a mass vigilante who's trying to save his city from this criminal organization, which is ended up corrupting it and overtaking it. And he has a short story here where he's tracking down a serial killer. And he's basically this takes place after the ash can, so basically has him being like the city's protector at this point. He ends up taking down this serial killer who's been harming the women of the town. The chick there is Alga. She's one of the Vikings in Raid of the White Leopard. Raid of the White Leopard's a story about a band of Viking raiders who wash up on a mysterious island, and then they have to deal with the island's protector. It's really fun. Kind of very much inspired by movies like 13th Warrior. It's really fun kind of adventure. And then the guy with the cape on the right side, that's Xavier. He's a new character I'm introducing. He's basically the world's greatest superhero who returns to Earth after being gone for 20 years. And he now has to deal with, the repercussions of, his absence and everything that's happened since. So it's a really interesting story. It's kind of like a take on books like Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns.
I see. And kind of like a little bit of the Captain America thing where like there's like a time gap between when he was active, then when he returns to action stuff. That's cool. I like that. And it is very like that is really cool because you don't see a lot of creators that have like this many things going on at once. So I gotta ask, how frantic is that? Because it's like I'm trying for that myself, and I'm like, I there's so much stuff I gotta keep straight.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, but the thing about this is like a lot of stuff has been backlogged, so a
Hmm.
lot of this stuff has been like piled up over the years. So like the
Hmm.
Ace stories, at least probably like 4 years old.
Hmm.
It just was never released until now. Xavier, I've been working on probably like 2 years.
Hmm.
Bloodbone's probably been like three-ish years. Ray of the White Lap's probably been maybe 3.5 years. So
Hmm.
little by little, kind of start building some of this stuff. And
Hmm.
I really like writing short stories. So the idea of putting together this anthology. I'm a fan of stuff like Marvel Comics Presents,
Hmm.
the 2-in-1s, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of really it's been fun putting this together.
Well, let's not forget Superman debuted in an anthology book.
Yeah,
Batman debuted in an anthology book. So it's like you're in good company there.
yeah, it's kind of like what's old is new, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like doing an anthology is like the smarter way to go, because in many ways it's less of a commitment to the reader, because like you just have to read a couple of short, like however many each story is like, yeah, anyone can do that. So it's like, okay, so it's more of it becomes more of like an impulse buy, in other words, on the reader.
Yeah, so I like nothing's with me. I like the idea of the exclusivity of the books.
Yeah.
So the idea of like, Ace, you can only catch it when the campaigns are up.
Hmm.
Same thing with Bloodbone. So like this is something the anthology is something that can kind of go year round.
Hmm.
You can always have this kind of floating around again, and it's a easy entry point. Like storage range from 4 to 7 pages each, so
Hmm.
you kind of get a nice glimpse. You get
Hmm.
to see some dope art, so kind of brings everything together.
Yeah, it's like that's what I've long said. The way to get people into comics is like a team book or like an anthology book, because what you do with it, like let's say a team book, like Justice League or Avengers, because that's how I got into it, or with X-Men, because when you have like a group of characters, you can decide, okay, I like this character, I like this character, I like this character. Then all of a sudden, all the comics you have to read to get caught up on these characters shortened significantly. So it's like if I want to read, like, let's say I wanted to get into DC, I could go, okay, I want to read Superman. I'll look at the Justice League and I'll be like, okay, I like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. All of a sudden, I just have to read this. And then I'm like, I can prioritize further. And then I just have to read this. And eventually I have to figure out how to start on Batman or like any of the X-Men books. But it's that similar idea of like, essentially giving like the readers like an introduction to the characters, and like, okay, so that way they can pick, okay, so which one are like you the most devoted to, and then it's like that, then when that campaign comes up you can pick that one.
Yeah, also I think it's a good way to get feedback about some
Hmm.
different things, which I'm curious about, especially like introducing the new characters and stuff, kind of
Hmm.
putting people's kind of ideas, what works, what doesn't. It's a
Hmm.
lot of interesting stuff to do with the Ash Can as compared to like something more long form.
Hmm. And so here is the art. So is it all in black and white?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
all black and white liner.
I
This
like
is
that.
the Ace short story by
Hmm.
Barbusco Comics. You see Ace right there with his dad. He's growing up. He's teaching him how to defend himself
Hmm.
against bullies. So it's a fun little kind of story that kind of sets up and kind of ends right where we can start Ace Volume 1 if you've never read it. So you
Okay,
can
that
read
makes
this
sense.
little short story and it goes right into Ace Volume 1.
That makes sense. And then here's Xavier.
Yeah, it's the first introduction of the character in the world and everything. Uh, yeah, really beautiful art by Rafael Crestani.
Oh
Really
yeah.
super talented artist. Really, see, like I said, you can kind of see like the almost like that Watchmen kind of
Yeah.
influence in this kind of.
Yeah, exactly. This definitely reminds me of like that scene in Dark Knight Returns when Batman first reemerges, and it's like everyone's like, "The hell is that?" And it's like he's like taking down all the criminals. So I'm like, okay, and he even says, "You're a super. I've never seen him. I've never seen you before." So it's like, yeah, it kind of has that little DKR vibe to it.
Yeah,
And then Bloodborne. I like that.
Bloodbone.
I
Yeah,
like
this is by
this.
this is from Image Comics artist Maxi Dallo. You can
Hey.
see Maxi working called Lost Fantasy. He comes out Wednesday, so you can check that out. And he did this little short story for Bloodbone right here. See Bloodbone laying the smackdown on some of these criminals.
That's so cool.
Protecting the citizens of the city. You know, I love that shot because it's total like Batman saving Gotham. You know, him swooping in and it's like that whole thing of like Bloodbone. You know, kind of like it takes place right after the Ash Can. So when you see the first Ash Can, it's kind of like the first adventure. And then you kind of see more him trying to take a more like superhero-esque role in the city, and you'll see kind of goes a little sideways. But you know, he's
as it normally does. The motion lines in this is so well done. It definitely is like, no, he's swooping down to like kick someone's ass.
Yeah,
I love that. It's really cool. And then Raid of the White Leopard. I love me some Viking stories, I'll tell you that much.
It's also by Avery. Really beautiful, just dynamic stuff. You know, he brings this kind of these characters, his world to life. You know, he's got the idea you can see like that second page right there. You almost see like the water move.
I was about to say the water here is like,
just incredible like work. Like the Zipatone and the effects he uses, all that kind of stuff. Avery just killed this. You know, I'm super proud of this book, and you get to see like the first opening of Raid of the White Leopard, introducing you to the Vikings. And then you got the last one's Blue Blaze, another new character. This is very much a love letter to like me and Joe, the artist on this, are both big Michael Turner fans.
Yeah, there you go.
So you know, we're trying to bring a little romance, we're trying to bring a little beauty and passion to it. So this is completely different kind of style of storytelling. A lot of mystery in this kind of like small New England town about this girl who winds up in a small church with no memory, and now she has to find out who she is.
That's cool.
So
I like
really interesting. Really, Joe is just amazing. Just lines, and you know, you can see every detail, every panel, the work, the hatches he puts into this.
Yeah, the wood patterns as well on here. I'm looking at this and I'm like, my God, that's
the smoke, all that stuff.
Yeah, all of that just looks. That's the funny thing. It's like this. It's like when I was doing my book, it's like with my artists, it's like the stuff that artists are able to like visualize, like even with the water in the Viking story. I'm like, how did you do this so easily? It seems so easily from like our perspective.
No man, so yeah, it's like it's a really fun stories, really cool characters, and just like amazing art. So like I think anybody can find something that they can vibe with, and you know, and like I said, hopefully we get the hooks in you, and you know, for future stories.
Yeah,
we're also offering the Bloodbone Ash Can. We're doing we offered this as like a foil when it first came out like a couple of years ago. This one's just a regular line art cover. But yeah, Ricardo just killed this cover here out by Donald DeLay.
I love it. The perspective, the scale of everything, that is so well done.
Yeah, so we're offering that. And then we also have sketch covers we're offering. So you know, anybody who's out there, you know, can get a blank, and you know, if you're an artist, you can draw on it, or if you're a fan, you can commission somebody to draw you up some fun characters. Yeah.
Sweet. So what tiers are available?
Yeah, so we have the obviously we have the regular PDF version for anybody who's digital. We have the physical copies, only $10 plus $5 shipping US. So super affordable book. We're offering the Ash Can. The sketch cover, that's $15. Then we have some bundles. You know, you can grab a copy of each, the regular and the sketch cover. And we also got the triple play. You can do the anthology, you can do the Ash Can, and you can do the sketch cover. We also offered it up to like worldwide, because I did a Kickstarter of this a couple of months ago. That campaign's over with. I didn't really do like worldwide shipping. It's just US. So this one, we're opening it up to everybody. So wherever you're at, you know, we'll get you your copy. So
yeah, I gotta ask this because it's a book that features multiple characters. I ask this every time a creator comes on the show and has a book that has multiple characters. Which one's your favorite?
My personal favorite is Ace. Like I said, it's very much based on books like Darkhawk, which I was just a huge fan of when I was growing up.
Mhm.
But the most fun to write is Bloodbone,
Yeah,
just because
I can imagine.
you can just like go full just madness, and
Yeah.
like it's a character that can do almost anything. But yeah, each story is its own thing. I think I think the best thing I've written is Raider the White Leopard.
Hmm.
Uh, so each one kind of has its own pluses and minuses. But I'm really interested to see what people think of the new stuff.
Hmm.
So Xavier and Blue Blaze. I'm really curious to get feedback on those.
That should be cool. That should be cool. And yeah, links in the chat. So I have here. So let's do this real quick. So, all right, favorite X-Men story.
My favorite is Executioner Song.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's I'm a huge. I think Strife is one of the
Hmm.
X-Men characters that had the most wasted potential of any villain.
Hmm.
He was basically in the original world. He's Scott and Jean's son. Uh, they ended up,
Okay.
they ended up making him the clone, but the original idea was for Strife to actually be Scott and Jean's son, who comes back from the future with a grudge against his parents, which would have been infinitely better storytelling than what they did with making Cable the quote unquote son, and then Strife the clone. I
Yeah,
think
there you
it's
go.
completely just a missed opportunity. I think imagine the idea of having the X-Men having to fight against this ultra powerful mutant, who's like Omega level. He
Hmm.
has like the powers of Jean and Scott,
Hmm.
like completely unleashed, just wants revenge on the X-Men, and like having to have Scott and Jean fight with the X-Men against their son would have been absolutely incredible. It would have changed X-Men forever. It still bothers me that they never went with that. Instead, we just got Cable being their son, which is kind of one of those things that also gets glossed over and it doesn't really get dealt with. But yeah, the original Executioner song, I think, is a great. It's crossover. It's got all the X teams in it.
Hmm.
I like the idea of like, you open up a Xavier getting shot, Professor,
Hmm.
when they track down the bad guys. So you see the X-Men being offensive, not defensive, like they always were, and them going after the bad guys, trying to get revenge. And then you see the twist when they find out, oh, it's Cable, but no, it's actually Strife. And then they get Strife's backstory, the whole thing. I think it's just super well done, and it never got followed up as good, sadly. But yeah, I think it's one of my favorite. That and number two would probably be Inferno. Big
Yeah.
like Marcel Vestry guy.
Hmm.
Like his art is fantastic. I love the way he draws the X women in particular,
Oh yeah.
like Madeline Pryor, like all the
Hmm.
goblins and Sinister and all that. And probably number three would probably be Bishop's introduction, because that's when I came in. So
Hmm.
when you introduce Bishop and Fitzroy, and then he loses his two teammates, and then he joins the X-Men. That whole thing was really well done.
Who's your favorite X-Men character though?
It's Logan.
Yeah, that's most people's favorites.
That's
It's
when I
yeah.
saw him, X-Men number one, when he
Hmm.
comes out of the danger room,
Hmm.
he points the claws at Charles, and he's like, "Bang, you're dead."
Hmm.
That is one of the greatest introductions to any character ever. Like I'd never seen a Wolverine in a comic before that.
Hmm.
And then I literally was like, who is this guy? He's like the most badass, like character ever. And like ever since then, like he was just my favorite, check down all the back issues and backstory and all that, and seeing all the great stuff like, you know, Marvel Comics presents,
Hmm.
him and him fighting Cyber, all this stuff for him and Sabretooth, like all of that was super cool to me. Like I was thinking like Logan really, even though it's cliche, like he really had like the most interesting backstory. There's something about him, and just like watching him fight with the claws, I think it's just like really dynamic. So
Yeah,
so Logan's always been number one for me.
yeah, exactly. The biggest mistake I think Marvel made with Logan was like giving him an origin story, like it was telling us his because part of the interesting mystique about pun intended about Logan is that we didn't know where he came from, we didn't know his name because obviously Logan's not his real name. But then I get it because the movie was going to do his origin. Marvel Comics was like, we got to give it an origin because if the movies are dictating what canon is, we got a problem here. But it's like, I always felt like they should have stuck it where he's just a dude that doesn't remember who he is.
Yeah, I also like the idea of like, you know, kind of almost like letting the people know that you don't want to know. Like it's better for everybody if nobody knows Wolverine's actual backstory. I think that's the thing I want to do with Bloodbone. So like I give you glimpses of Bloodbone's past, but a lot of it's gonna stay mystery. Like I want you to kind of have even your own theories and stuff about what the backstory really is. So I think that makes the character much more interesting than just coming up with this generic, backstory that's not really gonna impress anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like because that's where you get the audience investment, and when Marvel takes that away, it's like, okay, we know his name is Jimmy Howlett and stuff, and I go, okay, I mean that's fine, I get it, but it's like again, it doesn't compare to like the mystery, or like you say, do you really want to know the guy who has knives coming out of his hands? Do you really want to know his origin?
Yeah, and like the fact is, like you would know stuff about Logan, but the cool thing is you have to try to piece it together. Like you knew he was in Weapon X, you knew he fought with Alpha Flight, you know he was in the War with Cap. Like you knew these weird things about him, but like you had to kind of piece yourself together, and that made it so much cooler. Anytime they tried to like write it in for you, it got lost. It wasn't as interesting. The fact that you had to kind of piece your own kind of idea of like anytime you'd find out something new about Wolverine, like, oh, he person one, he did what? He was here during Japan. Okay, how does that line up with the other stuff that we know about him? That made it so much cooler, when you had to kind of like try and piece it all together. Then when they spilled it out for you, you're like, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like in horror movies when they show you the monster almost immediately, because here's the thing, part of like the appeal of like a horror movie and like Wolverine's origin is that you don't know. So all of a sudden you start to think about it, and then all of a sudden what you think could be like the most effed up origin for this character based upon how he behaves, or like because Wolverine doesn't only have like knives coming out of his hands, he also can go feral at times. So it's like, so everyone's like, the hell happened to this guy?
Yeah, his Berserker Rage stuff was super like interesting, So
Yeah,
the fact that he can like that you don't know how old he was also super cool. You're like how old is Wolverine? I remember like thinking about like he was in the war, and that he's in the 90s, so like he doesn't look that old. He looks like he's like 40, So you're thinking like, yeah. So all of that stuff is super much more interesting. Anytime they spelled it out for you, it always felt like a downgrade to me.
With me, my favorite X characters were obviously Logan. Everyone's gonna say Logan. Scott and Emma. They were always kind of like my like if I can use a DC term, trinity of X characters. And Scott's one of those characters that I feel like, depending on the writer, he'll either be written as a total dick or as like the X-Men's version of like Superman. In other words, he's the hopeful leader that like, oh, come on, gang, we can do it.
Yeah, like I always thought like when you reading like the X-Men, you kind of get like the idea of like, Scott is always by the book, and then Logan's like, I don't care about your stupid book.
Yeah, he's like, I just shredded the book.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, exactly. And it's like there were times like in modern days where like Marvel, for some reason, wanted to make Scott a villain now. So I'm like, can you guys not screw up these characters once? Is that possible? Because just go back to when they were popular, and you know what? Base it off of that. It's like, because again, it's like X-Men #1 from the 90s, like the highest selling comic book of all time. That's got to say something.
Yeah, man. See, X-Men Blue and Gold, man. The recipe is right there.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's like I feel like if the X-Men kind of like in the Marvel MCU like adopt like that some of the principles from like the 90s, I feel like it would be like a lot more like it would be more likely to land with people. So other question, what's your ideal X-Men lineup?
I always break it down like ideally you'd want blue and gold, just like the
Hmm.
90s. But I always thought like if you make like one team, you know, I like the idea of like Logan leading his own kind of
Hmm.
like side. So it'd be like Logan, Gambit, Colossus, Psylocke. Then you have like Jubilee,
Hmm.
and then probably like Nightcrawler and who else? Bishop probably.
Hmm.
So you'd have like a nice mix of like heavy hitters with like kind of more stealthy. So I
Hmm.
think like that kind of team could really do like damage, And like I said, I like that they're more like an offensive X-Men. So they have the of them taking the fight to the bad guys. I think that would always be like something, that'd be interesting to read.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is like everyone always puts Jubilee on their X-Men team. I never understood that.
Yeah, it's just something about her and Logan's dynamic. And
True.
like, and you like the idea of like, it was to me, it was either like a twist. You guys flip Jubilee or Kitty Pride.
Okay.
Like those early like X-Men stories with young Kitty Pride learning the ropes. I thought it was about like a whole different dynamic to the X teams. The fact that you have like a kind of newbier kind of character on the team with like all like the veterans. I thought always you could do a lot of different story beats with that. So
Yeah,
part of it's just like you'd be able to kind of flex and do different storylines by having like somebody younger on the team.
yeah, exactly. It kind of like it gives like the audience to someone to like latch on to. It's like, oh, she's learning about the world of the X-Men alongside you. You're learning through her. And it's like whether or not it's like Kitty or Jubilee, but for some reason it's just I never took the X character that like her powers are fireworks very seriously.
Yeah, like I always thought they could do a lot more with that. Like they could definitely amp her up more to kind of or have her use their powers in more creative ways. Like I thought
Mhm.
like as much as I love the cartoon, like her trying to fire at the Sentinels was like nonsense.
Yeah,
Like
that's not gonna do
like,
anything.
that was always like, come on, what are we doing here? Like like so I always thought like if I always thought like if you could write her, you could definitely do a lot more creative, tap into different things of the power for her. I think I like that with everybody really. Like
Mhm.
like they did like obviously they had Logan, they had Storm, Colossus, they had people that were kind of set, but I thought like you could do a lot more cool stuff. Like somebody a character like Nightcrawler, the idea that he can you know phase in and out of stuff. Like there's so much you could do with that. Like Kitty Pride, like like I think sometimes and I get it, man. It's hard. I can't even imagine you're trying to write like these like 7, 8 characters in a team book. Sometimes you just got to have somebody be like, she just fires her hands at the Sentinels.
Yeah,
I ain't
exactly.
got time for that,
Somehow that works.
So, yeah, so like let's just kind of let's cut through it. But yeah, I always thought like if I were like because I was like a big I wanted to work for Marvel back in the day. It's actually trying to see if I could be like an artist way back. So I always
Mhm.
thought like, man, if I can write the X-Men, like I want to do like cool stuff with all these people and their powers, not just like the regular kind of basic stuff. Like really kind of get creative with it. So
Well, what you could always do the way I always kind of considered it. I don't know if Marvel's ever like written her this way. You could kind of use like Jubilee as like the X-Men's version of a flashbang. In other words, she if they need to escape, she like she like uses her powers and then it's like it blinds people, giving
mhm.
them time to like escape.
Yeah, it's really you can do some cool stuff. I think the idea of like mutants and powers that was always really like a cool concept. It's just you kind of have to just tap in a bit, get a little creative. The
Yeah,
characters are there, like the backstories are there. It's all there for you.
yeah,
So I just
exactly. And it's like it's all it really takes is like obviously as you've seen many times, a good writer will be able to make literally the most useless character ever the most useful character ever. So
well,
it really
there's one
depends.
exception.
Okay.
It's, Marrow. She's terrible.
Okay,
Marrow is the worst.
elaborate.
Worst.
Why?
She's useless. Tried to make her the female Wolverine. It's like no, she doesn't work.
She has bone claws.
It's just everybody just being so annoyed back in the day reading. Like
Okay,
no,
well, short of Marrow, you could have any.
yes.
It depending on the writer, you could have like the most useless character all of a sudden go like, okay, I found a way to make this person work. But you need someone that also understands like the X-Men themselves and like the general concept of the X-Men, because then it's like if you understand the foundation, you can then go, okay, now I can make it work in the canon of the book that I'm writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like besides Marrow, who's your least favorite X-Men character?
Uh, um, there's not too many. Like you know, like anybody who's like the initial kind of batch from like the late '80s to early '90s. I pretty much rocked with.
Mhm.
Marrow's one of the few ones that I didn't. Was another character. I think her name was like Cecilia Reyes. She was like a doctor.
I think
She's
so.
around the
Is
same
she?
time.
I think she was in the New Mutants movie, is what I think. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like I remember she was not a good character. I know they were trying to
Mhm.
make her like the next like Jubilee kind of next like Kitty Pryde kind of character. I was like, nah. Like I think by that well they should have just it's like you can only create so many cool ones. After a while, it just kind of
Some
like
of them are gonna get
it's
stupid,
like at
right?
the end you're like you're just forcing it now. Like it's like let's stick with the ones we have. We have enough. We have enough cool ones.
It's
You know.
like that's how we get the X-Men character named Soft Serve, whose power is he can poop out ice cream. That's
Yeah.
literally his powers.
Yeah, I mean, just after a while, it just becomes like, anything could be like a mutant power instead of really trying to come up with something cool and creative. You're just like forcing it. Like, just look in the dictionary. Oh, this is like a power. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's like ability to bend air. Yeah, that's a power. I'll
yeah,
I'll I'll work with that. All of a sudden, becomes Avatar: The Last Airbender.
yeah, it's like, come on, let's stop it here. Let's get creative. Let's bring back creativity.
Well, yeah, exactly. And Marvel is not exactly swinging for the fences of like creative. It's like again, the X-Men is the biggest like layup that you should be able to like nail. It's a simple enough concept. A team that people hate because they're mutants and they want to save the world. How hard is that to do?
It's literally the biggest book in the world for years, and they just pissed it all away. Like it literally was like the number one selling book in the world, and they just slowly just started to chop away at everything people liked. It's just like now it's a mid tier book,
Mhm.
like so it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like that's the biggest like because again, to your point, yeah, X-Men was selling like it was the number one book at one point.
Yeah, it was X-Men and then everything else. Like literally, like you had to like come up with something crazy to knock it off that spot. And then X-Men would be right back in there, the
Yeah.
next month or two. Like is just that's how it was, man. Like it didn't matter. During all the biggest booms, whether all the millions other books sold, X-Men was the steady. Like it don't matter what you did from like, late 80s to like right around like 2000. Like it was
Mhm,
it. It
mhm,
was
yeah.
they just chopped it all away and like just turned off tons of fans, and now it's just another Marvel book, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that's the problem when you take what should have been like one of the most unique books around, which the X-Men is. When you read a lot of our stories, you can't do. Here's the thing: when you know that like a team is like essential and like unique is when you can't replace them with other characters and the story still makes sense. Like you can't take an X-Men, you can't do Days of Future Past, let's say, and then just say it's an Avengers story, because it's like the Avengers don't have that concept. The Sentinels were not created to fight the Avengers. They just happened to do that. So it's like that's the thing. You already have it where like, and you already have the fan investment. You and I are examples of this. The fans love the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you hire fans to write the comics?
Yeah.
Like that is always the biggest thing that like that like blows my mind. But anyway, I think that is a good place to leave it. So thank you for coming on. I put the link to your book in the description and chat. So let everyone know what you got coming up and where they can find you.
Yeah, so the number one place you can always find me is on Twitter. I'm at Buzz Acevedo. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back. That's where I post any news, any streams that I'm on, anything that you want to know about me or my projects. That's the number one spot that I posted at. And then tonight you can catch me on the Hardline JJheat Comics channel. We're going live at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. So come hang out with me, Phil Diaz, Brandon, Shelby. We'll be talking about, comics, food, movies, whatever. Just having a good time. So go check us out.
Hell yeah. And we will see you guys later. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.